All right, welcome everybody to our webinar on the not so secret life of pets as we talk about how pets' lives have changed during COVID and how our lives are being changed by our pets during this COVID time period.
And I'm Kate, client partner here at Insights Now, where I get to help develop research design, just like colleagues here like Kristen. And if you noticed, Kristen isn't actually able to join us today. She ended up having to host a couple of live sessions, so we're going to really miss her. And subbing in, we've got Greg Stuckey, who is our Chief Research Officer.
Thanks, Kate. Glad to step in anytime. I appreciate all the work that you and Kristen and everybody else on the team did to pull together such wonderful information that we'll be sharing today. And as always, for those of you who don't know Insights Now, we are a behavior-based research company. We love to do work, and we love to make sure that the work that we're doing is changing people's lives for the better. So in innovation, that means helping you get to market with new products that really do change your pets' lives and the pet owners' lives as well. You can participate with us as we go through this session. There is a little box that says questions, and we want to get started this morning by having you tell us a little bit about your pets. We believe that most of the people joining on here today are going to have pets of their own or certainly be involved in the pet industry. So go ahead and jump onto that question space, type in a little bit about your pets while we tell you about ours. So I'm going to kick us off. I've got 3 pets. I've got a Lady, Blackie, and Pip. Lady is 12 years old, and she has more energy than I think any animal I've ever owned or had the pleasure of being around. Blackie is the complete opposite, 2 years old, and will sleep 24/7 if you let him. Pip, I think his main job is to terrorize both of those dogs.
And on the far side over there, we've got my little 11-year-old muffin man. He actually celebrated a COVID birthday not too long ago. And Greg, I was actually sipping out of my Dog Mong mug this morning in honor of today's session, just to get in this mood about all things pets.
Excellent, excellent. All right, I love. So, do we count teens as pets? They're certainly stinky. That's awesome. That's a great quote. So love hearing about all of your pets. This is fantastic. Yes. Yeah, my kids are no longer teens, and they're up and into their early 20s now. So they definitely went through the stinky and mess your house up period. My goodness, my pets seem to mess our house up quite a bit. All right, well, let's talk about a little bit of past history as you're still throwing out a few things about your pets. As you know, we have a tracker that looks at what's happening during COVID. Maybe you didn't know that. If you don't, you know now. You can go to our website. You can check out all of the highlights that we have about how people are behaving, how COVID is changing people's behaviors, shopping, you name it, is in there. But as we go through this, we're going to be looking specifically in this webinar how pets are changing people's lives. The last time we did a webinar with our Clean Label Enthusiast group was back in, 2019, and we were looking specifically at the clean label elements of food. So if you're interested in looking at ingredients in foods, and that's where you want to learn a little bit more about information for your pets or your business, there's a webinar there. You can take a look at that. For today, though, we're going to be talking primarily about research that's happened with our category advisor community. And these are people who are specifically recruited to do a product research in specific categories. So this one's coming from those people who are recruited because they're regularly buying products in the pet category. And that's foods, non-foods, you name it, they're buying in that particular category. And you're going to have findings from both social media today, as well as then from 3 studies we ran. One was on a behavior survey of 400 different pet owners that are in that pet category advisor group, as well as another 100 people just on pet emotions. And then we did a bunch of qualitative storytelling discussions, activities that were deep dives with 13 of those advisors as well. And so you'll see a lot of their stories and quotes from them as we go through today. So that's where our data came from that you'll be seeing most of the data that we have had. Now, one of the things that's going to be true about the pet category, we were not particularly caring what type of pet people had, whether it was a dog, whether it was a cat, whether it was anything else. What we do know is it's going to be highly skewed towards dogs and cats because 85 million people in the United States are pet owners. 75% of them have a dog, 50% of them have a cat. What's really interesting and why pets are so interesting to the society right now is because bringing pets into the home during COVID is increasing at a faster rate than it's ever had before. So in the last 6 months since COVID started, in our advisor group, 14% of the advisors welcomed a new pet into their homes. Now that's up from a typical running average of about 5% in any given 6 months period, based on research that we were looking up from the pet industry. In addition, pet spend is continuing to grow very, very rapidly. 99 billion estimated spend in 2020, and that's a 5% annual growth for the last 3 years in terms of spend in this space. And it might go a little higher than that now that we're seeing more adoptions and breeder buys, et cetera, so forth going on. Now, today we're going to be talking about the not so secret life of pets. We've been at home now for about 6 months, and prior to that, we often left our pets and we didn't really have full view of what they were doing day in and day out around the house. But now roles have changed. We're seeing what's happening, and so we have a different view about what our pets' lives look like. 3 big things that we've noticed that our advisors notice is that, number one, the pets are a additional companionship in stressful times. Pets also are timekeepers and managers of our daily schedules. And then finally, pets operate as fitness trainers for us as well, and even more so now during COVID.
And honestly, we're not only seeing what our own pets are doing now that we're home, we're also seeing what everyone else's pet situations are like. For most of 2020, our pets have been on full display throughout social media. And if I'm going to be honest, for me specifically, this has been the content that I've been waiting for and that I needed, and especially during a pandemic. Kristen, our colleague, also admitted that she only got TikTok this year for the dog videos. That's the content that everybody wants to see. That's what's getting us through our disruptive days, and just making us feel more connected with both people and our animals. A lot of the commentary you see on this snapshot of social media sharing in these memes has a lot to do with personal work disruptions. And it's pretty safe to say that we think coworker of the year is going to go to our pets for 2020.
Yeah, for sure.
But work and pets together isn't new, right? Like before pre-COVID or pre-COVID, there used to be study after study on how pets at work actually helped boost productivity. It relieved stress. It helped increase collaboration. I mean, the list can go on and on with why you should bring your pet to work. This article from Facility Executive back in 2018 went over all of these changes in an annual survey on these specific types of pet benefits. But as you know, 2020 is the year of disruption, and it even impacted this relationship quite literally. We no longer bring our pets to work. We brought work to our pets. And that transition hasn't always been the smoothest. There have been some major challenges. What we do know, though, is staying home for these longer periods of time, as well as the social isolation that we saw, brought us closer to our pets than ever before. This increase of togetherness has changed the dynamics of our pet relationships. And some of those shifts are more drastic than others, and some more are about intensifying the bonds that we already had. And that first moment of intensity is on this renewed sense of companionship. And pets were certainly companions before COVID. It's just even more true now, especially again when you add on those layers of human and social interaction being taken away when you're in quarantine or you're in stay-at-home orders or you're not seeing your real coworkers every day. The areas that help support this area of intensification were around the ideas of love, companionship, and friendship that owners feel with their pets. And we know that this is a direct correlation to the time being spent at home because of COVID. It's also one of the highlights. So if you're a pet owner, this likely feels very true for you. So we know a lot of people have been home these days. We want to take a quick poll for everyone today on how many of our category advisors do you think report being at home and spending more time with their pets because of COVID?
All right. So go ahead and select which one you think is the correct percentage of advisors who say they're spending more time at home with their pets.
Greg, we've got answers for each one of these. That's really fascinating right now.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I'm getting ready to close this if you voted, and I'm going to present, let me share what everybody said. There we go. So
67%. What do you think, Greg? Do you think they're right?
Well, I kind of know the data, so it's possible.
If you guessed the 67%, we saw 2/3 of category advisors reporting this greater time being spent with their pets because they are home more because of COVID, which is such a huge number, right? Like we've talked about it in theory, you see social media articles about it, you see reports on it, but in actuality, 2/3 of pet owners are home and are spending more time with their pets than ever before. And by being home more, pet owners recognize that that pet relationship has changed. Another 50 to 64% of pet owners feel even more bonded, both themselves and between pets and other family members. So different ways this bonding intensified the last few months include everything from napping more with their pet. They might treat them more like a child, have more conversations with them. We know sharing on social media has had a pretty big momentum, a pretty big uptick. And this one is a little bit interesting, home grooming. And if you've ever tried to cut your own pet's nails or trimmed their hair, it's a really unique experience for everybody involved. There's literally a whole new level of trust created when you have those sharp objects around.
No doubt about it. And this comes with emotions as well, right? So we've got mutual feelings being developed during COVID about how the pet owner feels themselves and how they think their pets feel as well. And some of the top ones should be no surprise to any of us. Pet makes me feel loved, and I think my pet feels loved, right? Comforted, calm, relaxed, content, contented. All are the top emotions that both the pet owner as well as the pet, as personified by the owner, believes that are being met today. And we see this come through in all sorts of stories that we got from our advisors as well. For instance, here's three. We always loved her dearly, but it's definitely the year of the dog. We're so grateful to have her for entertainment, companionship, and love. Or on the bottom, DK has become so much more affectionate. He's such a great companion. These focuses on companionship, on love, on sharing time together have been really the heart and soul of what everybody believes is true now that they've spent more time with their pets.
Now, we teased this a few moments ago, but our second unveiling for these pet secrets comes from the idea that pets are bona fide work buddies. They've officially been upgraded from family pet to family coworker, and there was clear evidence of that in no social media memes. In fact, 29% of pet owners identified with this new relationship status. even going as far as talking about their pet's participation on work calls. And in my personal theory, I'm thinking that's where the home grooming is coming into play.
It certainly can be.
They like a little too much chatting with my coworkers' pets on Zoom. Maybe you have your pets with you today for today's webinar as well. We've heard stories of how pets are in people's laps, how they're right at their feet, how they're even knocking things off of desks while we're in meetings.
Right.
And for this person, their pet Jess has helped me work every day since we got her. She's very interested in my computer as I work from home. It has made work that much more interesting. So that probably doesn't shock you. And it won't surprise you that working from home and these transitions have not been easy for a lot of people and a lot of families. So while working with pets at the office may have had benefits, working with them from home has been challenging. There's the barking, those knocking things off the work desk I said a moment ago, the begging for attention. But there is some light to that relationship in the fact that pets offer some balance. We saw that 55% of pet owners feel that their pets give them a sense of normalcy and routine during a time that isn't anything but. People also consider their pets to be work buddies, lean more intensely on their pets for emotional support, and they even serve as a small escape from life disruptions. They're helping ground us even in moments of frustrations that we face. Yeah. And, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt, right? While there are many positives to those bonded relationships, there's this inevitable downside to the closeness. We're seeing future concerns creep in when we're discussing challenges pet owners have faced in the last few months. And this idea of separation anxiety when life goes back to normal, when people go back to the office, that's the hard part. And it's also still a really large unknown. There's some target dates that are out there. Maybe your office has reopened, but it's still looking different than it did before.
Yeah, for sure.
And so for that, anxiety in pets is really the third secret that we're lifting off on here. It's the unfortunate side effect of being home more. And this advisor really put the relationship the best way, more than any summary that I could do. And the biggest behavior change has been the attachment to me and my wife. Prior to COVID, our pups were companions, but they were independent. Now that we have been home so much, they're always by our side, and they get a little anxious, even if they can tell we're getting ready to leave the house without them. And pet owners like him aren't the only ones who feel this way. We're seeing that 31% of owners, a third of pet owners, feel that their pets have been more clingy in the past few months. They definitely don't have that same level of independence and confidence that they had before. And this is especially true when pet owners are leaving, even for things now. Even if we're in stay-at-home orders and quarantine orders, you might still need to go get a test done. You might still need to go run an errand or have your own appointment. But they aren't being left for those long stretches of time, and pets are reacting emotionally. Because I am home now working, she does get more anxious when I have to leave for errands. She tends to follow me whenever I go to the house, follow me around wherever I go in the house, well, so much more than before. And he is more anxious when we leave because he's used to having his whole family home every day. They also don't know when you're coming back. Their lives have been so disrupted. They don't know if you're going to be gone for 5 minutes or you're going to be gone for 10 hours. That routine has been completely disrupted for them. And experts are starting to weigh in on this, on what it means to return to normal and how it's going to impact our pets. While the initial disruption happened really quickly for both humans and pets alike, we may have a little bit more control when the pendulum finally swings back. Being prepared is going to help those pet owners and pets adjust more smoothly. So some of that advice involves going slowly. You have to rebuild that time away relationship. And with that, you also really need to be alert to the mood shift and how it's impacting their behavior. They may be subtle at first because they wanted us home more. Well, mostly. Cats may have needed more time to get used to that change. But the overall prediction from experts is that pets' reactions when we leave come the new normal is going to be much more loud and much more pronounced, and something that pet owners should be alert for.
Yeah, and it'll be really so important for us to really think about their end behavior at the end of the day and what we want, because they certainly are going to react in a quite aggressive way, if you will. So the first half of our presentations were really about our relationship and how our relationships have been changing. In this next section, we're going to talk about three different areas where it's more of the impact of the pet on the owner's behavior. So these are the not so secret pet influences that we have seen. There's three that we're going to talk about. The first is around energy, the second's around play, and the third will be around hunger. Looking just at energy, we see a lot of stories from our advisors about the type of energy their pets have now that they're home more. And this one summed it up really well. She's got more excitement, always wanting to run around when I let her outside in our yard, as opposed to the level of excitement that they were experiencing prior to COVID. Now, we saw 73% felt their pets had more energy, 51% focused on exercise, and another 27% said that they were spending more times at parks and doing pet play dates. So we certainly see a significant increase in the amount of energy being expended and the amount of number of owners who say they're spending more time doing energy-related activities with their pets. And this came through in lots of different ways, from walks to play dates, going outside more, doing more exercise. And the last one on this page I thought was great. She seems happier and healthier now that she is walking longer distances, taking what used to be short walks prior to COVID, now turning them into much longer walks. We believe that there's a great combination here between the pet wanting that activity and the owner needing a little bit of time out of that confinement as well. So the energy feeds off each other. Now, the motivation to exercise was something that we dug into with the advisors, and we saw prior to COVID, 55% of owners said that their pets helped with their motivation to exercise, normally through walks. Now, specifically because of COVID, the change, this has jumped another 18%. So we're at 73% of pet owners saying their pet increases their motivation to exercise, and a pretty sizable increase just because of COVID.
So coming off of the heels of that energy release, there was also an emphasis for playtime as well. And play helps keep pets occupied during both work or school time, as well as some of that independent play. We saw that 52% of pet owners are spending more one-on-one time with their pet. This is one of those moments where it's serving as an opportunity to escape those life stresses. And some of these ways include specific toys, like this advisor who's using a device to interact with their pet when they could be in the other room or maybe they're away from home. And during COVID, they've been using this more than they ever before as a new way to connect with their dog. And assisting playtime also comes with an increase in pet spending. Specifically, we saw a lot more in the toy, game, and novelty categories compared to, say, things like bedding or accessories. And when we zoom in a little bit further, those pet owners who feel like they have work buddies now, they spend even more on their furry coworkers than the average pet owner. 59% are purchasing more toys and games, and 46% are spending more money on novelty type items. But buying toys and playing with pets isn't new, right? But this is where it's getting to one of those pet secrets. And this person articulated that subtle shift so well. I now try to find more toys that are funny for me or interactive so I can play with her. One of the funniest toys we recently purchased was a squeaky pig that makes a really unique noise. And when you squeeze it hard, it makes an even louder, stranger noise. She goes crazy when she hears it. These pet owners are being more intentional with their toy purchases because they're starting to consider their own engagement during playtime.
Absolutely. And finally, we come to hunger pains, right? And what we found humorous is, since I'm at home, she bugs me and bugs me for walks and treats, and Cubby loves his peanut butter ice cream. What we find is lots and lots of pet owners are looking at the time together and having those subconscious cues and signals or bugs for treats and food, making them believe their pets are even hungrier than before. In fact, 29% felt their pets have been hungrier since COVID started. And 33% of them, 1 in 3, are reporting feeding more treats, and 22% are feeding more table food than before COVID. Now, if we drill down a little bit more on that, they're buying more treats as well. And specifically, the categories that are up the most are the soft treats and the biscuits. We have information across all the different types of treat spaces here, but these certainly jumped out as having the biggest growth in terms of what people are buying more of right now. Now, the reason they want to buy these treats is really where the joy of this information really is, knowing that the increase in spend is there, but it's about spoiling good behavior. There's a little stocking up, a little bit of the functional piece going on as well, but really I'm feeding more because I'm home more, and I'm also looking for variety. And this variety piece, I think, is one of the most fascinating elements because variety, if you think about most of the time what we're feeding our pets, we get them on regular diets. In fact, prior to COVID, me personally, I didn't treat very often. And when I did treat, it was pretty much the same treat because they really loved that treat, different ones for the cats and dogs, but I really didn't deviate a lot. But since COVID, and we've got so much more time in the house, my treat cupboard is like packed with all sorts of crazy stuff now. And I think the variety is more about me than it is about the pets.
That was what I was about to say, Greg. I'm definitely on the variety purchaser, and it's because I realize just how boring these treats must be. My dog's getting the same thing every day. Like, I want to switch it up because I feel bad for their palate a little bit.
Right.
All right, so we want to spend a few minutes and talk about the differences between treats and food. So if pets are hungrier, we just reported more directly on this increase in treats. And so why didn't we see any changes in the food space specifically? So Greg and I mentioned that 33% of pet owners are feeding more treats, 23% are spending more on treats, and those don't seem like huge numbers. But when you compare them to those food numbers, the exact same question, exact same category advisor, food has very little moment. There's only 12% of people feeding more food, only 15% of people spending more on food. So if pets are hungrier, why are owners choosing treats over larger meals or more frequent meals? And if you know anything about pet diets, Insights Now has done a lot of research in the pet space over the years. We're also pet owners ourselves. It actually makes a lot of sense because for why treats were the bigger behavior shift. There are several issues with diet changes in our pets. First and foremost, it can be really stressful on a pet's digestive system. We're already in a stressful environment. Pets are more clingy. Pets are more anxious. Why add an additional layer, an additional change to their discomfort if it's not needed? And we're we're hypothesizing that it's not needed because nowhere in our research have we seen that pets are turned off by their current meal options. Our pet owners are not reporting that, Cubby or Javi are no longer eating their food, so we needed to change it. So, the age-old saying, if it's not broke, why fix it? And also, food changes are for long-term change, not for immediate satisfaction and connection, the way that treats can help us connect with our pets more quickly and in a faster turnaround. At the end of the day, it's not a secret that pets bring us joy and happiness. And most pet owners will do everything they can to maintain those high levels of connection. The pandemic intensified those emotions. And if we could even love them more, it seems like we have. Some of the ways we've maintained this joy is by not skipping out on memories or letting the pandemic hold them back from doing. Earlier this summer, we had a birthday party for Cubby when he turned 1. We wanted to invite all of our friends and family, but couldn't because of COVID. So we had a small party instead, and I got him a birthday cake treat, and we sang to him. So they didn't miss out on a birthday celebration just because they couldn't share it with their human friends and their social behaviors. They still maintained that idea of a memory that they can have with their pet instead. And even when pet owners needed a more formal escape this year, they've kept their pets close and involved, which really helps keep everybody grounded during moments of stress and disruption. So pet happiness and the idea of inclusion is really strong. For this person, my wife and I treat Ivy like a part of the family, as if she's a child. And in all reality, she is that special. She brings us pure joy. We take her on vacations, let her sleep in our bed, bring her special treats and toys, take her to swimming lessons at a local place. We even get her own stocking for Christmas. And it's not forgetting those bonds during this pandemic and during COVID that's helping amplify and intensify our pet relationships.
Yeah. So secretly, and this is the secret side, right? Pets really are helping us maintain better routines. They are creating more comfort in time of disruption. Interestingly enough, they're helping us exercise and stay healthy, so they're secretly changing our behavior as well. And this last one, they are convincing us to give them more treats. And that's so sneaky of them, but I'm convinced they're doing it on purpose as well. So how do we apply this to innovation? So if we know that we've got these new bonds, more intensified social bonds with our pets, how can we leverage those more intensified bonds in how we build products and create messaging for pet products during this time? If we know that there's more exercise, more energy going on, how can we help pet owners manage that energy in a successful way? How can we do that in a healthy way for our pets? How can we make sure if they're getting more exercise, they're also getting the right nutrition that goes along with that, et cetera, so forth? We can certainly layer on within the innovation space great brainstorming against how these behaviors are changing in order to help maintain healthier pets and healthier adults as well. All right, so our real question then, we've had a bunch of pieces here. We do a lot of research and we want to know, what do you want to learn more about in terms of pets and pet owners and pet behaviors? If you've got some specific things that you'd like to know, go ahead and throw them in the chat. If not, we're going to throw some questions back at you. Let's see if anybody comes in. We are all being quiet at the moment. Okay, I'm going to launch a quick poll here. We threw up a few questions. I got a few more coming in now. Which of the following pet topics are you interested in? We've got different topics around innovation, diet trends, behavior-based research, spending trends. Try and poke your brains and get you thinking a little bit. What areas are you most interested in understanding a little bit more about? Okay, I'll share that out for you. You can see mostly behavior research and innovations, but across the board. So we can do some research in all of these areas. This is very good. We've got a few questions coming in already, Kate. First one is, what innovation do you see as helpful for pets as people transition back to work? That's a great question. So we know, let's set ourselves in what we know is the issue with people going back to work. So assuming that means leaving the house, going back to an office. So we identified anxiety as the biggest concern here, right? We're going to have pets who are pet owners or pet parents who feel their pets are a lot more anxious, have a lot more fears. There's probably going to be some emotional letdown there because they're not exercising as much, they're not doing things as much. So what innovations could be helpful for our pets as people transition back to work? Let's see, some ideas that I would certainly come off with. So this is off the cuff then. I think that in order to reduce anxiety, you've got to think certainly about opportunities for slowly educating your pet, you know, taking time to create events that allow your pet to have more of those special moments that you created that were new types of moments. So finding ways to create better playtime with your pets when you are at home. Certainly having opportunities like we saw with the WOPET device where you can interact with your pet while you're away would certainly be very helpful as well. Kate, any
Yeah,
ideas?
Greg, that's where my mind goes a little bit with a question like this, is because while we know that pets are going to be really anxious when we leave and they're going to have separation anxiety, we know that pet owners are tending to feel very similarly to how their pets do, right? So the
Right.
owner themselves is going to also have a level of anxiety and also have a level of some separation anxiety and guilt for having to leave their pet. So innovations that can bridge that connectiveness gap, I think, is where we're going to see the most popularity.
Ah, very good point. Very good point. I like that. Another question is, given the heightened awareness of infectious diseases, has there been more concerns about protecting pets from diseases? Certainly, we've seen within the research that we've been doing that there is more concern. I think in our COVID tracker, we as a couple weeks back, we posted on the percentage of people that even believed that pets could get COVID, right? So we published some myths and some truths in there. There's definitely some confusion around this particular topic that is very evident with in the advisor space as well as in general with pet owners. So I would certainly say that there is a group of people who are certainly quite aware and have a concern. So there's a little bit less going on play dates, things like that, where there's the physical interaction. So they're keeping their pets away just as much as the adults are staying away. However, I think there's the opposite side where they just don't know. And so they assume that you know, the normal pet play dates are perfectly fine and safe, as well as long as the adults stay apart or the pet owners stay apart. Any further thoughts on that, Kate?
I don't have much more to add on that one, but it is a fascinating topic.
Certainly, I think that's certainly one that we could spend some more time taking a look at as well. All right, is there anything special that you learned about? Any new questions that you have today? We've got a little bit more time, so here and available for any additional questions that you have.
And Greg, I don't know if I can see your screen or if I still see the poll.
You're right. Let me change that back. Let me see if I can
Can
change
we
it.
see those cute
It's
animal
saying it's,
pictures again?
yeah, I know, right? It's saying that it's saying that it's hiding the poll, but I don't see it going away. Yeah, I'm not sure why that is the case. Just refresh it completely. There we go. Fantastic. All right. Can we see the cute animal pictures again? Absolutely. I'll jump back to that in a second. So coming up, we've got a couple of more events coming up this month. Myself and Sarah from Insights Now, we're hosting a Learn Shop at the Sensory Society coming up at the end of the month. And Kate is going to be partnering or going to be speaking at the Quirk session along with our CEO, Dave, as well. So certainly a lot of more opportunities to get involved. So certainly I can jump back all the way back to those cute pictures again, because who doesn't love sharing time with or sharing pictures about all their pets as well. So went too fast. There we go. There's
These are the
our
cute ones
pets.
you meant, right? Our
Those
cute
are the
ones.
cute ones. Obviously, you meant our pets because those are the best ones, right? No, so yeah, so I certainly love sharing pictures. I think this is one of those behavior pieces that I think is always fantastic, and it actually goes back to went the wrong direction. Goes back to all of the social media that we saw. One of the things about behavior that we probably overlooked a little bit in terms of numbers here is just the amount of social sharing and pride that goes along with having pets. And as the relationships build, the amount of social time that you put into pets also builds. So if we're looking for innovations in this space, one of the things that's going to be super true at this point, more so than ever before, is being able to leverage those relationships, able to leverage and collaborate with other pet owners. If you have innovative products, but you're not connecting the dots socially between owners of those products and helping people connect the dots between what other types of toys and games and exercises that they are doing as well, then that's a huge missed opportunity or a huge open opportunity for those that are leveraging that as well. All right. Any further thoughts today, Kate?
I don't think so. The other thing that we didn't touch on though yet, if you want to answer this question for me, is what other types of pet research have we been doing or have we done beyond this webinar share?
Certainly. Well, we're doing pet research all the time. We spend a lot of time doing pet product placement, so putting products in home. So our pet advisors can look at evaluating specific products, whether it's new products, formulation changes, whether that's care products or even fashion. So we're really have the opportunity and spending a lot of time shipping product into people's homes and getting them to try out new products. Certainly that's a fast growing area. As you know, spend is way up there. So we're doing quite a bit of work in that particular space, as well as just classic survey work as well around innovation, new idea, concept screening, things like that. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for your attention today. Really appreciate your time. If you've got any more questions for us, feel free to reach out, even if you want to just bounce an idea off us and see what our thoughts are. If you feel like you can connect into our pet advisor community from the vantage point of leveraging that group or even the clean label group for understanding more of that ingredient type side to the equation, certainly let us know. We're very interested in continuing to follow along with COVID changes. So if there's a specific topic you want us to focus in on, just drop us a line. All right, have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Talk with you all again.